Hi, it's Steve Sharp from Esteem Therapy Yorkshire, and this time looking at Module 3, Part 2. So what we're going to be looking at here are some fairly simple and straightforward tools that you can very quickly adopt to begin to disrupt your dopamine dependency. The first thing we're going to look at is the strategy you're going to take for abstinence. And there are two options in the main. This is what we might call a cold turkey approach, where you are going to go with complete abstinence from acting out. B is a form of de-escalation strategy, and you can decide the pace of the de-escalation to whatever suits you. Both of these can be underpinned by completing the following sentence. I am aiming at achieving 90 days total abstinence from acting out on the following date. Enter date. The next technique, which is valuable for stopping, is to set boundaries. So the way I do this with my clients is to encourage them to consider a sort of a traffic light approach. So if you consider the red light are stopping behaviours, these are behaviours that you do not want to engage in any longer, and these are the behaviours that have to be stopped in order to get you through the rewiring period of 90 days. The green light behaviours are things that you want to promote in your life that will be supportive of a recovery journey, and generally these are about not just sexual behaviours but also general well-being aspects as well, so diet, sleep, socialising, exercise and so on. In terms of sexual behaviours, this is quite a sensitive area, and my best advice here would be to discuss with partners what the ground rules are going to be. If you're not in a relationship, then there is quite a challenge in deciding exactly what is going to be a healthy set of behaviours for you during your abstinence and into recovery, and it might be helpful to talk to a therapist about those aspects. The traffic lights really ideally should be done in some collaboration with partners to make sure that it's agreeable for both. We've also got on this model the caution light, the amber if you like, and the suggestion here from me is that you use this as a parking space for things that probably need discussion with partners, so it's just a list of things that need further conversation, but it can also include things that you're not quite sure of at the moment, maybe you want to be experimental with just to see whether or not they're in any way risky, or you might actually take some of these things to your therapist to discuss before you plot them on the traffic lights. The next tool we're going to get you to focus on is one that's spent quite a lot of time on in therapy, because it's something that gradually emerges more and more as the work goes on, and by working on it continuously, we can bring about more and more success with the abstinence. So this particular tool is regarding the management of opportunities. Opportunities, whatever your background factors, whatever's going on in your life at the moment, always open up the possibility of acting out. So we're going to focus in this particular audio on two key ones. One is opportunities presented by technology, and the other one is opportunities presented by your environment, the environment of your life, the places you go, the people you meet and so on. So let's start with the technology. Technology is a big aspect of our lives, so it makes this particular area of managing opportunities quite challenging. Obviously the ultimate safety would be not to have access to the internet, because then you can't access porn, you can't access dating sites, you can't make contact with people and so on. And also you can't research where massage parlours are, you can't research where escorts are and the like. So assuming that technology is quite important in your life, either for work or for personal reasons, you need partial management of technology to keep you safe from acting out online. Perhaps in some addicts' work, this work has to be much more intense and much more rigid, if you like, by really locking down the technology. But in this video we're just going to consider a partial strategy to manage technology, at least as a starting point. So I just want you to write down 5 or 6 actions that you can take to better manage this opportunity. All it needs to do, this strategy, is to give you a few minutes breathing space so that you can consider your decisions about acting out or not. So to give you an example, one that often occurs is putting blockers on your phone and on your other devices so that you can't access certain types of content, for example adult content, or you can't access certain apps or certain websites. By doing this, even if you're very tech savvy, you will buy yourself a minute or 2 or 3 minutes in order to aid your brain in considering what you're about to do and hopefully to make the best decision. On the environmental side, I just want you to do a similar thing, but list down 5 or 6 strategies that you can employ that will keep you safe from exploiting those opportunities presented by your environment where you can act out. So some examples that I find commonly come up with my clients are things like always going to bed at the same time as a partner, because a lot of acting out takes place when the partners have gone to bed and are asleep, and that presents hours and hours of opportunity at night time. Build more enjoyable activities into your routine, and what this will do is remove spare time, possibly the incursion of boredom into your day. These sorts of activities might be walking, reading, socialising, listening to music, maybe doing jobs around the home. Another example might be avoiding certain social situations. So many of my clients find themselves acting out when they've been out with social groups, they've perhaps been drinking, and those social groups want to engage in certain activities, or your own acting out might follow on from that social group interaction. The fourth tool we're going to talk about in this audio is mindfulness. Some of you may have come across mindfulness. It's often spoken about in the context of meditation and such like, but what we're talking about here is using mindfulness as a way of becoming more self-aware and doing more self-monitoring of what's going on for you day to day in order to get more power, more control over your behaviours. So all we're saying here is to practice more self-monitoring of your mind states so that you become more aware of when your dopamine thermostat is switching on. Acknowledge your cravings and roll with them, continuing your new routines rather than fight head on. Focus on and become dedicated to making changes to your routines to disrupt the habituated pathways in your brain. Avoid fixating on stopping so that feelings of powerlessness are kept at bay. So the fifth tool we're going to look at is quite simply based on the idea of positive reinforcement. If you think about addiction, and particularly sex addiction, we refer a lot to the dopamine process. The dopamine is very much linked to pleasure and rewards and novelty and so on. So what I think you can do is to apply this particular process to rewarding yourself for good progress in your abstinence. So what I'm going to say here is simply reward accomplishment. Your brain needs to learn new and healthy automated routines by linking your wins with pleasurable payoffs and benefits. So that brings us to the end of Module 3 Part 2. I hope to see you again when we look at Module 4. Thank you. Bye bye.